All right, fading in here. Welcome, little bonus. My first bonus episode. We're gonna call it because it makes things easier. I am Alex Tanner. I run Outlier Firefighters, and this is my live show podcast called Talking Shop with Outlier Firefighters. Except this time it's just me, so I guess I'm talking to myself. So, if you're trickling in, ask questions, live stream. Right, Jay? It's a bonus. So I'll share what I kind of went through. We'll see if I get kicked out because I'm going to see if I can show some videos of a couple of the speeches that I sat through. And one that I watched later. I wasn't live for one of them, but that's all right. So a little background. I've been going to Fdic for a number of years. I've been pretty fortunate to be able to go. I've gone 2 years in a row for the full conference, including the full part with hands-on training in the beginning. So I did the Monday and Tuesday all hands-on. If you've never been, I totally suggest. It's a really good time, and there's a ton to learn, and there's a ton of networking that you get to do. So that was kind of my plan this year. Was I wanted to do a lot more networking and meeting other people, and I haven't gotten that opportunity in the same way. And I was fairly successful. Vandenberg, you definitely got to go. You would definitely love it. You really get a good connection of people from all over the country, and pretty much for the most part, everybody thinks the same way, right? They're all, and I don't mean that like it's a bad thing. I mean a good thing. Like you're among friends the whole time, even if you don't know them. And I got a couple fun stories involving that, but so kicked off. Me and 3 other guys from my department, we went down on Sunday. We were fortunate enough this year to stay in an Airbnb, which I highly recommend. You get everybody in your group together. If you're going by yourself, that's one thing, right? It's okay to stay in a hotel. But if you're going with a group, try to find a way to get everybody together. It's so much more fun. You spend the whole time interacting with each other. It's almost like being at the firehouse in Indianapolis, right? And I couldn't suggest it enough. The last 2 years, that's what I've been able to do, and you're doing everything with each other in a good way, right? And it's a lot of fun in that way. So couldn't recommend that enough, or at least getting adjoining rooms, whatever you can do. We had an idea, and we might try and explore it next year about getting a house with a couple other apartments that are around us, and basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those departments out of the 3 is responsible for cooking lunch or dinner or something like that, and going from there. So get creative, get fun with it. There's a lot you can do down there. So I'm going to skip over and come back. We'll see if I get in trouble for this because I'm going to try to play some videos, like I said. For those of you that don't know, Bobby Halton died last year in December, and for 18 years he was the editor-in-chief of Fire Engineering, and he pretty much was responsible for Fdic, and that conference really bled through what he did and what he did for the fire service, and influenced countless firefighters, including myself, even unknowingly in the time, right? I've been going there with my dad since I was probably 8 or 10 years old, and didn't realize it at the time, but Bobby really permeated through every layer of Fdic. So it was a I wouldn't say it was a tough year, but it was a different year, right? And they did a great job of honoring him and really letting people see what he was. I hope they continue to show clips from him speaking and those kinds of things, because they can't replicate it in any way. And if you get a chance to watch Chief Rhodes's full speech, he talks about that, right? There is no Bobby Halton again. There never will be, and that's okay. So if you get a chance to go back and watch some of his videos, the last speech he did for our opening ceremony was "You Were Worth It," and it's pretty powerful. So it's all on YouTube, Fdic International's YouTube page. So, which we're gonna kind of fly into that. First off, if you're in here, this is like an AMA, right? So use that chat, talk to me, Let me know what you think. Ask questions or anything, right? It can be somewhat FDIC unrelated, right? Just keep it fire. But I'm here to kind of put some of this stuff out here. So I'm gonna fade in, and we're gonna give this a shot because I don't know how well it's gonna work. I just gotta kind of drag some things out of my way so we can watch. Because I'm doing the old 2-monitor thing, Trevor, you gotta go. So before I get into the video, just a couple things. Trevor, so even if you can't go, right, for the full conference, right, we're talking Monday, Tuesday, hot classes or workshops, and then Wednesday on, if you come down for Thursday and just walk the show floor and meet people, you got a better chance of maybe meeting some of your heroes and people you idol in the classrooms, right? Like I told you, I got to meet Rick George, and that was just by circumstance. The people he wrote a book with, which I don't have within arm's reach, otherwise I'd show you, the resiliency book that I kind of pushed my last episode. But he was just there. He was supporting the guys that he wrote the book with. So you can run into people from all over, and it's pretty cool. Even just going out and socializing at night, it's a different kind of atmosphere, right? So even if you get, just a Thursday, and those of us in Illinois, which is a lot of my group here, right, and especially my regular listeners, because you guys know me, you guys have worked with me, you've been around me, but for us, it's a 4.5 hour drive. Like, that ain't that bad. Come down, even if you can make it happen. And if I'm there, my floor's always open. Might have to bring your own air mattress, but my room's always open. So as much as I can do that, I probably can't have 15 people in there, but I always do the best I can to try to support, because people have done that for me. I've crashed on some floors on the Friday or whatever. So Rianne, I didn't get a chance to say hi to you, and I'm sorry about that. And same with, I believe Dan Frank was down there too from Antioch. So I'm glad you had a good time. Was it your first time going? There's a delay. I probably should know that, but throw it in there, Rianne, if it was your first time. And those of you thinking about doing it, one little plug here is October. It opens up for registration, and it's cheaper until about, I want to say, February or March. So there's a good chance, you can get in and get your show pass a lot cheaper, if you book it earlier. So, all right, I'm gonna fade over here, and we're just gonna kind of watch something.
Nothing is more important to you than your principles. Nothing's more important to you than your values. Nothing's more important to you than your character. But as we go about our daily lives, it's kind of easy to understand why some people think that those sacred values and those principles are lost, that we have no modern examples of goodness. But they're wrong. All around us are heroes. If we're to be better people, better firefighters, if we hope to inspire future generations to do great things, to do extraordinary things, then we must continue to build monuments that recognize and memorialize things that are noble, that reflect on what's noble in our world today. We must be true to our promise to never forget. I'm asking you today.
The thing that's different about a Verbo vacation home, you always have
To be
Technical difficulties.
that vision, to live that philosophy of life. And the examples are all around you, sitting next to you in this room. Firefighters whose backs stiffen when they hear duty, honor, country. They're in the arena like you. You gathered here today, you merry band of brothers and sisters. You protect those commitments. What you do protects society, the weak and the strong, the rich and the poor. What you do as firefighters exemplifies and provides us living examples of loyalty and service. By your work, you honor men and women of character like Billy Fisk, who were willing, like you, to risk their lives for strangers, who were dedicated, like you, to the service of their communities, and who, like you, will give their last full measure for one another. We learn very young that everything in life has a price. Everything. Being a firefighter has a price. Sometimes the ultimate price. And death notwithstanding, it always comes at a high cost. Being a firefighter, every one of you here today has reasoned and accepted the cost. We've publicly acknowledged what we're willing to endure, what we're willing to pay for this honorable life, for the privilege of being an American firefighter. Those chattering third-class stringers, they scream, they died in vain. Those heroes did not die in vain. Those heroes did not die for nothing. We will never allow anyone to besmirch their memories in these hallowed halls of Fdic or in our presence. I wouldn't give you a bucket of warm spit for the firefighter who didn't recognize their virtue, their valor, their courage, and their humanity. Every single one of you sitting in this room right now knows why you endure what you endure, why you tilted windmills, why you're willing to bear with the unbearable sorrows. And yes, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for marching into hell. Thank you for striving with your last ounce of courage. And yeah, I guess there's never been a better explanation for why the best men and women, the strongest men and women, joined the fire service. Was it worth it? Yes, we learned very young that everything in life has a price. Everything. Within every one of us is tremendous capacity for good and tremendous capacity for evil. The ultimate sign of good character is being able to suppress the evil and elevate the good. We need to get in the habit of telling the truth. We need to tell the truth and accept the consequences. We have to develop the habits of virtue, beginning with courage. We need to develop the virtue of respect, because although we may not understand someone's point of view, we need to respect their right to have a point of view. The world needs its firefighters more than ever, because the world needs its heroes. And no, we don't have to be Superman all the time. But when we must be, we better be ready, because the world needs its heroes. We fight for the principles and the fundamentals that make America the greatest example of people exercising their God-given natural rights. Firefighters like you assembled here today are unquestionably more interested in things that you can't measure, like knowledge and wisdom, duties like virtue, respect, courage, honor, and integrity. William Bruce Cameron once said, "Not everything you can count matters, and not everything that matters can be counted." We may call God by different names, but we pledge allegiance to one nation. We defend one Constitution. Firefighters are one with the mission, one with each other, and one with humanity. For in the war that never ends, we go daily under the shadow of death, where we are all equal, where we are all vulnerable, and where all we have is one another. And Every single firefighter in this room knows why, and we say it without hesitation because firefighting is the best damn job we've ever had, and if you don't understand that, then I can't help you. This is our house. Our fire service operates forward in the real world, not in a laboratory or a classroom, not in some theory, not in some construct of how the world should work. In the real world, we operate in the real world with real people and real problems in real time against real threats. And let there be no mistake about it. We are who we are. We're America's firefighters, true to our colors. Bound to the good. It's our purpose. God bless the United States of America, for which we stand. The world needs its firefighters. I need you. And you all have been there for me these past many rough years. I'll never forget you. I love you all more than I could ever tell. And I hope that you have long, safe, and wonderful careers and lives.
Yeah, Trevor. You run through a brick wall, right? So, like I said, for those of you maybe that didn't know who Bobby was and what he really brought to the fire service and the lives that he touched from his energy and his passion and his love of others, I'm not going to get totally into my story from last year. I did get to, I finally met him last year. And first and only time, and I actually saw him a second time later. But he was the nicest person. He remembered who I was, and in that moment where I was with him, he gave me all the attention that he could give, and treated me as if he knew who I was, and that was really cool. So obviously that was a huge theme this year because Bobby died suddenly in December. He had cancer, and there was an after-hours show on Wednesday. And maybe I'll kind of cover some of that real quick, just to mention a couple things, and then I'll get back into the conference. So he used to do an after-hours show on Wednesday where he would get guys like Salka and Lasky and Bill Gustin, and they would sit down and they would just kind of basically talk shop. They would just do that, right? They would tell fun stories, and they would talk about issues in the fire service, right? And with that after hours one this year, they had a bunch of people come up and give stories about Bobby and what he brought to help them push through to the next thing. And one of the biggest ones, and I'll just stick with one, was Anthony Castros. And if you know who he is, he teaches Calming the Chaos, which is an incident command class. But he talked about how he was so stressed from basically taking shots, right, from everywhere, getting beat up in his own organization, that it caused him to a point where he had so much stress that he had a stroke. And Bobby was instrumental, he said, in helping him recover and helping him get better. And he would always be there to lend a hand to say, forget those guys, you're doing the right thing. And I hope that from what they shared and that I'm now sharing with you, that you could take that same kindness, right? All of us go through our own things within our own organizations, and we get beat up, and usually people that do the right thing end up kind of being the minority, right? And that's kind of why I started this, was to have a platform to talk to people that felt the same way, and to kind of help me deal with my own stresses and anxieties in my own organization. And like I said, take back from that story, and you can watch him. He obviously loved the fire service, and he loved everybody, and that it's okay. It's okay to be that passionate about the fire service. And FDIC has always been a place that kind of teaches that and that makes you feel that way. So, again, if you get the chance, go. I'll probably say that 500 times throughout this, but I'm going to roll into the next thing because I'm going to get back to opening ceremony just so you get the progression of how things were. So on Monday, I got to take a class called Nozzle Forward. If you've ever taken it, throw something down here in our chat. I guess, so Aaron Fields, he's from Seattle. He teaches this class about body mechanics, right? And managing hose lines and flowing water and moving, all these things, right? He came from a wrestling background, among other things. He's got quite a resume, and I didn't know all that before talking or hearing him speak to us. And there was so much more than just those hands-on skills. I mean, he was a linguist. He talked about how we learn, right? So he would connect patterns of different things that we do to help kind of cement into your brain that much more. So all the motions we did, all were rooted in the same basic stance. And then they would branch out. So whether you were the heel person or you were on the nozzle or you were doing a search or whatever it was, they all were rooted in the same position. And totally worth it. I've been a firefighter for 13 years. I thought I knew how to hump hose. I had no freaking clue before taking this. I would get away with being, I'm a bigger guy. I would get away with just sheer muscle, and I would muscle through things. If you've ever heard the phrase, when plan A doesn't work, we try plan A harder. That was me. And I thought I was pretty good at humping hose, and mostly just because I had the gas tank and I had the strength to do it. Totally changed everything. They beat us up. We did a lot of moving hose up and down stairs, 2.5, 2.25, inch and 3/4, flowing water, moving the whole time. And, it was hard work, but I wasn't as tired afterwards, if that makes sense, because of these little things. So like I said, he came from a wrestling background, and I'm not a wrestler, right? Those of you that know me, I came from playing friggin' marching band. So I guess I get the aspect of like technical stance and stuff like that, right? But that's more just so your uniform in wrestling, right? There's a whole lot of being in the right form to generate more leverage and to generate more power in the things that you do, right? He brought that down to us at a firefighting level. And if you get the chance to take it, he's got a full 2-day class, which I would recommend. They have to break it down for FDIC, and they have to do it in 8 hours, which was still valuable, and I still got a ton out of it, obviously. It absolutely worth every minute that I was in there. I am much better at holding the hose. I'm a better nozzleman because of it, for sure. Stick with N, right? Stick with N and O. Pretty much every other pattern seems to be kind of like bullshit. He talked about really taking all the information that exists out there and shortening it down into like 2 or 3 things, right? Because at the end of the day, as you would all know, you get on a fire and you're all amped up and you're trying to make things happen. And you're trying to, force things into your will, and you don't remember fancy tricks, right? You guys, most of you know I'm a comic nerd. And one of the things I remember reading in Moon Knight was the best. I know I'm dropping a Moon Knight, and whoever make fun of me, and I don't even care. But one of the quotes, the character, his dad was a boxer or something like that, and he said, "You want to know what makes the best fighters? It's not the best skills or the fancy moves. It's how much you can take, right?" And I would say the same thing comes into place if you're talking firefighting, right? At the end of the day, we can learn all these different techniques, but it's really what you can keep going and the longevity that you get out of those skills. And that's where Nozzle Forward breaks it down to a complete fundamental ground level up and builds you up by the end of it. Oh, you're a stud. You're ripping around. Like I never flowed and moved up and down stairs. And by the end of the evolution, felt more confident than I've ever felt in it. Like I said, little fine techniques, and I can't show you because, well, the webcam's only so big, and I can't angle it on the floor. But go take his class because I'm not Aaron Fields. That's the why I took it, was because I've always gotten secondhand information from him, and I've never gotten it from the source. This was from the source, so totally worth it. Take the class, even if it's not FDIC. Take the class, right? From there, got to come back, hang out with the guys, all that fun stuff, right? Reset, off the hands-on training the next Tuesday, and I did two things. One was search and rescue, taught by a cadre from Grant Schwab. I can never pronounce his name, and I think it's Schwably, but I don't think it is. And again, keeping with the theme, simplicity. We didn't put a whole bunch of fancy extra crap in it. There weren't a whole bunch of extra drag straps. There weren't webbing and all these things. It was all just using your hands and your body to move. Worked through a couple evolutions. They do a cool thing, and I'm going to see if I can pull something like it up. But basically, they use jersey barriers, right? So everything's like they're half walls almost. And with that, yeah, I don't think I'm going to find it on YouTube on Google here. It's so specific. But they're all half walls, right? So instructors here, basically they go in, dry, and no smoke, and everything's a half wall. So all the students can get around the perimeter of it, and they can see everything that's going on. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. But if you're an instructor, exponentially better, right? Every single person that came through, you could tell because they were able to see everything that happened. They would snap into the go mode, right? I should have taken a picture of it. I didn't. That's all right. But either way, they take a jersey barrier and they use a whole bunch of pallets and plywood, and they just build like a half wall building. And every student goes around the outside and they just watch and they go through positions. I will say, I learned a few things in this. Some of it was new and some of it was fine tuning what I already had. So, how many of you are good at the tripod position? And how many of you carry a Halligan bar pretty much at all times? Because I can tell you that I did, right? My default was, if I was going to go into a room to search it, I was dragging that Halligan bar in with me. And I think it's just those old, I believe it was Fredric's, right, that said 2 hands, 2 tools, right? And you should always have a tool in your hand and all that fun stuff. But, a 10 by 10 room, what do you need a Halligan bar for? Unless you got a vent from the inside. It kind of slows you down, right? You can. So what they were teaching was you do. First off, we did split searches for everything. So if you don't know what a split search is, you got to get on the horse, get part of the game, right? Small companies, ticks, modern fire service, we do split searches, or you do oriented searches, right? That anchor, ducks in a row, face to the ground, that doesn't save lives, and it's pretty proven. So we would split up, and one person would go search one room, and the other person would search another, right? So what they would do is they'd put the Halligan just past the door. You go and you do your search, come back out, your Halligan's there, go to the next door, right? And it would show the company officer or the other person in your crew, hey, they're still in that room. So maybe it's something to work into, right? Don't feel because of some – I don't want to discredit Andy Fredericks because, he's Andy Fredericks, but – be smart about your tool, right? Have the tool, but know when to drag it around with you and when not to drag it around with you, right? The other thing too, they taught us to yell back and forth certain things like, hey, what? How far are you into the room, right? And regardless if you went clockwise or counterclockwise, they would number the walls, right? Hey, I'm on 3. Well, that would kind of cue you in. Hey, he's on the back wall. How long until they're going to come back around and out the door? They're close. Hey, I'm on one. All right, they're in there. They still got some time to search. Maybe I can run up and search another room. So, totally awesome. Take that back. Use that. Communication's obviously huge in small companies. So if you could be on the same page about those things, it's so much easier to get the job done, right? Another thing I learned from doing nozzle forward, how funny is this? I was really bad at that tripod position. I would have the Halligan bar next to me, and I would be on one knee, one up, one down, right? That's tripod. With this, I had my hand behind me, and because nozzle forward teaches you to do that, right? You shut the line down. You're in the clamp position, they call it. It runs in between your legs. You take the nozzle and you point it up to the sky, and you drop your hand behind you and start crawling. Well, I did the same thing when I was crawling to search. Totally changed my game. I was faster. I was less tired, and totally changed the game. Again, I was fortunate enough this year. I got like a progressive lesson. Everything built on top of everything else, to the point where one of the evolutions we were supposed to go in and search off a hose line, which I don't advocate replacing a search crew. But if you're the engine crew, you better search off that hose line. I think a pretty high percentage of people are found from the engine crew, almost more than the search crew, if I remember. And I'd have to look at Rescue Survey's numbers. Those don't just come right to my head. But so I go in and I ask the instructor, which ask this question ahead of time because otherwise you look stupid sometimes. But hey, is this fair game? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, do I treat this like it's real? Like flowing water, doing all this stuff? He's like, yeah, do whatever you want. So I come in, I'm flowing water right down the hallway. We make a door. I'm flowing water again. I'm painting the room, right? All that fun stuff. Get in and dude, like, he comes up afterwards and he's like, hey, I know it's a search class, but that's some damn good nozzlemanship. And I was like, I just took Fields class yesterday. And he goes, well, I'm going to tell him he's just doing a good job. So, yeah, it was pretty fun to kind of put all those things together. So, Danny, you said, Frank, you said this was your first time going down, right? So did you take hot classes or did you just come down Wednesday on? If you did take hot classes, tell me what you took and I'll come back to you because I'll finish up my Monday, Tuesday here. So finished up finished up surge work. One of the other things that was really cool, we did some vent search, so it built up to a point where they had theatrical smoke, right? And we had to dive into a window. And just before that, this is where I learned something. If you take anything away from my rambling here, take this, because I think it will resonate with a lot more than just me. I've learned recently that I'm basically like a dog that got let out in the backyard and there's a bunch of squirrels and he's going after everything, right? High energy, high aggression, right? That's what we're supposed to be. So I'm not trying to say back off on your aggression, your energy, but almost to the point where I wouldn't think, right? I would just act and I wouldn't size things up and think. And because of that, I dive into a window for a ventilator search, hit the ground, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm looking for open doors, right? Which I'm sure all of us do, right? We're trained to do that. I challenge you to flip that now because I made a mistake, and it was awesome to learn in front of one of my heroes, by the way, Basil Ibrahim, which was pretty sweet that he got to take some time and directly teach me something. I hit the ground, and he's like, oh, okay, let's slow down. He's like, come here. Can I be honest? I'm like, you? Yeah. He's like, you got the aggression, and you should, but you got to channel it in the right way. He's like, you got to focus on the right things, right? So what happened was I hit the ground, look for an open door, right? How many of us have done that in ventilator search training? I think everybody does, right? Because we teach you to go close the door, that isolate, right? We're beating that into everybody's head. This is why, get that out of your head, right? It might already be isolated, which is what happened to me. There were two doors. One was to a bathroom. One was to the hallway. So I run up completely, because the door's closed, completely missed the door, went into the bathroom, searched a bathroom real quick, but as if it was a hallway. So I hooked the two sides of the window, and I spread out and do that whole thing, right? Pop my head back in. Completely missed the door. So if you're doing training, and or in real life, especially if you're doing a vendor search, if that door's already closed, that doesn't mean that you don't poke your head out in the hallway, right? And sweep, right? That's what you're supposed to do. A high percentage of people, bedrooms, hallways. That's what we're looking for, right? So even if the door is closed, pop that door open, sweep outside real quick, because you can miss somebody, which I did, because that's where they planted the dummy. So, but on top of that, channel your aggression, channel your energy towards actually doing something, right? Don't just make it about flying in there as hard as you can, as fast as you can, right? You making educated decisions, you making sure that your effort goes to something instead of just nothing makes you faster, rather than just come in like a bull in a china shop and go to work. So I was really glad to have had that experience, because it really cemented that into my head that I got to take a step, I got to hit the ground, and I got to look, I got to survey first. If you force that front door, right, take a second, look, read the smoke. When you enter a room and you're going to do a search, take a second, orient yourself. If you got a tick especially, orient yourself and then go to work, right? Don't just come in all crazy.
Most of you.
I'm learning, sorry, I started something. Talking with my hands over here. But yeah, take that, do that. Trust me, you'll be exponentially better. No instructor, no good instructor is going to sit there and yell at you. If you hit the ground, take a second to observe what's going on and then work, right? Danny, all right, what do we got here? So easily the best one was leadership. You learned from Stephen Shaw, battalion chief from Fort Lauderdale. Made you realize a lot of things, right? Was doing wrong as one of the senior guys, right? So I know right where you come from. You are a senior guy by all rights. That's kind of how a lot of part-time and volunteer type organizations are. There's a lot of turnover, right? So you end up at one point, and I lived it too, brother. Like there's a point where you are the senior person around there, and you feel like you shouldn't, right? But some of those rules still kind of apply to you about what you're supposed to follow and what you're supposed to be and do, because somebody has to represent that person. Somebody's got to be the adult in the room, right? So I'm glad you had something. I don't know who Stephen Shaw is, but you can bet your butt I'm going to look that up. So sounds like you had a pretty cool class. Anyway, so moving forward, first fun story. So we get back on the bus, and because it was a 4-hour class, and we're about to go back to the convention center to switch buses to go to my second half of Tuesday. And we are hilariously predictable as the fire service, right? So we're all sitting on the bus, and if you've gone to hot classes, you know that the morning, barely anyone's talking to each other, right? I try to introduce myself, hey, what kind of calls you run, blah, 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 the standard, typical fireman talk. And then, you're kind of knocking off because you're tired. But the ride home, different story. Usually everyone's all amped up and you're all talking about stuff. And out of nowhere, we hear some sirens right behind us. And almost like a reflex, everybody, and I'm not exaggerating when I say everybody on the bus just starts screaming, "Go get them, brothers! Go get them!" And everyone banging on the windows and shit. So it was really fun. We're all the same. Doesn't matter where you're from. We're all the same. So that was really funny. Yeah, so we get back and turn around, get back on the bus, head up to my next class, which was through Insight Training, which is Andy Starnes and a whole bunch of his cadre, and they teach about tick use and intelligent tick use. And if you get a chance to take anything from him, it's pretty awesome. The best advice and the quickest advice I'll give you from that is if you've got a tick, don't use the tick. I know that sounds hilarious, but the tick is an orienting tool, right? The tick is not something for you to be heads up displaying with, even if you're an officer, right? So we have small ticks that are for the backstep, and they're just for orienting, right? So if you're a company officer and you've got the tick, or you have one on your own, it should be used to size up your next move, right? So if you show up to a hallway, scan the hallway, you could turn the camera sideways. They would call it the gangster grip, right? And that helps spread out what you're actually looking at, right? Because there's the view of a tick, kind of comes out like a cone. but scan it, look for what's there, and then go to work, right? And the same thing I was talking about before. So it was progressive, right? It built up into the next thing. So I was good at searching at this point, and I was refreshed with that. Now we're adding a tick to it. So I was fortunate enough to do it with one of my lieutenants at work. I did a cool evolution with him where we had a long hallway. I turn around and I go, hey, let me look at your tick real quick. He throws it up, look down the hallway, see a bedroom, see a bed, see a couch. And I'm like, bye, see you later, take off. And I go search that room by myself, right? Because I'm oriented. I know what I'm looking for. I'm going straight to that bed. So if you're a company officer, let your back step. Look at the camera. Like, if you can't keep a picture in your mind for a quick, 5-second look, maybe it's a skill that you should practice on, that short-term memory, right? That visual memory that you have. Because I went right to it, right? No flashlight or nothing. Just took off and went to work. So huge takeaway from that, right? And then if you're moving, don't use the tick at all. Don't use the tick. If you're moving, don't use it. It'll disorient you, and it really doesn't really do any extra good. So put that tick away, right? What do we got here, Danny? One big thing he said was a story about how he had to teach a new guy how to mop a floor. But the next shift, a new guy made 2 grabs without any hesitation. Never judge someone, right? That's huge. Firefighters today, they're coming in with a little bit more knowledge and a little more understanding of the fire service, right? And yes, everybody's complained about young people since the dawn of time, right? Well, he can't start a chainsaw. They can't do this. They don't know how to mop a floor. I believe that's bullshit. If you judge someone based on that, it's crap. You can teach somebody how to do any of those things in those low-stress environments. So that's a really cool story, Danny, for sure, right? Judging by dedication and aggressiveness, that's how we should look at each other. I've always judged firefighters on whether or not they're going to get me killed and whether or not we're going to, when shit's hitting the fan, we're going to be able to make it out and do things. So everything else is crap. We can get along, Democrat, Republican, Cubs and White Sox fans, maybe Packers and Bears fans. All that stuff doesn't matter. We can all get along as long as we're in there together. We have the same goal and dedication. Have I ever seen those VES packs people are making? Saw them? No, I haven't. If you got a link, put it in the chat because I'll pull it up and show it. I've never seen that. I will say, if you do. The big thing now, the fire service is really pushing it out there. The right voices are saying things. VES, it's beyond the door. VES is not just known victim, known location. VES is a way in. That's it. So get that out of your head. Door control should be something that we're doing regardless if we come in the front door or if we enter through a window. So, yeah. So that was my hot classes pretty much. It was a blast. It was a good time. All of them, what I'm learning with the hot classes is pretty much all of them, the instructors have a longer version of their class when they go around and they teach it all over the country. So if that's not possible for you, I got 3 classes that each one of those would have been 2 or 3 days, and I got them in 2 days. Whether it's watered down or not, I still got very good things out of it. So, Danny, thanks for stepping in and talking for a little bit. I appreciate the support and sharing some of what your day was like. So that's cool. Yeah. So, Wednesday, big day, obviously. It's opening ceremony, they'll call it, right? They consider Monday and Tuesday pre-conference. And then Wednesday shows up and it's time to go. So Chief Rhodes, David Rhodes, he took over for Bobby Halton. He was his successor. And absolutely dropped a hammer. Just an awesome speech in his own rights, right? And the joke, Bobby Halton's up there quoting Socrates and stuff like that, and nobody's going to do that again. But Rhodes, man, exactly what we needed to hear. Those of you that think like I do, and those of you that want to be what we're supposed to be, man, loudest voice on the biggest stage in the fire service. Got up and basically said, hey, we're here. So I'm going to throw a couple little clips from his speech, right? Because powerful, to say the least.
Most of you come here to learn from some of the best, knowledgeable, experienced instructors in the industry. Most of you are leaders, either formally or informally. But there's another reason that you come here. It's because back home, you suffer from caring so much and trying to do so much that you become a target in your own organization. You too are loyal disobedience. That's why you're part of my tribe now. You come here just as I have over the years as a form of therapy, to recharge your batteries, to be a part of something greater than yourselves, to hang out, network, and talk with others who face the same hardships, to be around people who have a mentality that gives you hope and inspiration, to keep doing what you're doing, and in some cases, maybe even increase your efforts. At least this week, you find other people who actually care about our service.
I mean, yeah. I got a chance to meet him later, and I told him I felt like you were talking to me, like directly. And he said basically a lot of people had the same thought process, right? That loyal disobedience, that was a thing he kind of talked about earlier, right? And that was one of the things that Halton passed on to him, right? One of the things he loved him was that he was disobedient, that he was loyally disobedient. That was the phrase. And basically, Chief Rhodes would describe that as he was loyal to the fire service, right? He was loyal to the values of the fire service. He was loyal to what we were supposed to be, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm not him. And he was disobedient to those that would take that from us, that would say otherwise. And if that doesn't hit home, I don't know. I can't help you, right? I resonate with that so much, right? I think when you start to expand your circle outside of your organization, when you start to talk to people from other places, you realize what we're supposed to be. When you learn about the history of the fire service and you hear and read what some of these leaders, these true leaders, have to say, you realize what you need to be loyal to and what you need to raise a little hell with, right? What you're willing to stand for, and totally hits home, right? Again, if you get a chance, this whole speech was absolutely lights out. It's called Another Opportunity to Serve, and that he's talking about, what he's doing to be the editor-in-chief of fire engineering, right? Trevor, here we go, right? The biggest thing you've needed in the last year was a recharge of my battery, right? And the podcasts are a great way to stay engaged and stay locked into that group, right? That's the biggest thing he said, right? He's talking, we all come together at FDIC for a week, and that's it. That week's done. You got to go home, and you got to go back to what it was in your reality, and you got to find other ways to stay connected. Luckily for us, in today's industry, there's groups everywhere. You can find all sorts of opportunities to talk to people and be around people, even if it's virtually. Like you said, the weekly scrap, that helped me immensely, right? He's got a group called the Vigilantes, which has grown beyond. Basically, it started as a way to help him make his podcast better, and now it's just kind of become like a group. And I actually got to meet with those guys on Thursday, which was pretty awesome. I turned down going to a free steak dinner from one of our suppliers, and nothing against them because they are awesome, and I really do appreciate talking to them and being around them as well. But to be with the other firefighters, there were about 11 or 12 of us, and it was pretty sweet. For about 4 hours, we just all sat and talked as if we'd known each other for years, and talked about the job. find it. Find whatever outlet you can to be around people. And if I can help build that too on my platform, maybe I got to get my group going again on here, or maybe try to join a Fools chapter or something like that. But get around people like you and that are okay to talk about the job, that want to do it, believe in those things. It's out there, especially with social media now. There's a lot of crap with social media, right? And I grew up, when it all was in its infancy and having a MySpace and, I'm not in your top friends list and all that crap. That's not the case anymore. You can really scale it to what you want it to be, right? So use it as a tool, right? I'm going to play you a chunk here of the end of Chief Rhodes' speech. And again, just hitting the nail right on the head. It's exactly what needed to be said, again, on the biggest stage of the fire service.
Bobby was known for being unapologetic. Well, I'm keeping that part. Maybe a little different twist. I'm unapologetically for a search culture that removes victims in the first 6 to 10 minutes. I'm unapologetically for extinguishment by occupying the interior so that we can search. I'm unapologetically for believing the structure is not clear until the fire department searches it. I'm unapologetically for research to challenge our thoughts and beliefs and tactics. And I am unapologetically opposed to anyone who spends thousands of dollars equipping, training firefighters only to take away their ability to make decisions on the scene with these risk-averse policies and slogans that are totally counter to common sense and our mission of saving lives. We're all here to stand on the shoulders of a great American, a mentor, a firefighter, a friend, and let's take this fire service to a whole new level for a whole new generation. Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. We miss you dearly, and we proudly, officially open and dedicate FDIC to you.
Well, yeah, so obviously I left amped up after that, right? And then, went off onto classes. So this kind of became like, the next step after that. And again, if that resonates with you, guess what? That's the norm now. Again, the editor-in-chief of fire engineering, one of two and probably the biggest firefighter magazine and content or driver or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, went up and said, I'm for search in 6 to 10 minutes. I'm for an aggressive culture. I'm for those things. Like, that's a big deal, right? So guess what? If you believe in those things too, you're right. You are right, and you're not alone anymore, right? So take some pride in that. I mean, and hopefully that rips you off into the next thing, right? All the recliner snipers and keyboard warriors that would say otherwise, they ain't right. It's that simple. So I got my notes. I took some pretty cool classes, right? And from there, I got to go see Mike Gagliano, and he's from Seattle. He's a truck captain from Seattle. He's since retired, and I'm sure many of you have seen him or heard of him in classes that you've taken. He was part of company officer training. If you've got your your officer 2 or officer 1, or now company fire officer, and he teaches the art of go and no go, and basically it's, are you going to go in or are you going to not go in, right? And it's funny, the class starts, first off, I barely took any notes, and that's not a bad thing because it was so mentally engaging, right? It wasn't stuff to write down. It wasn't bullet points. There was a flow to it, right? So he basically put up pictures, right? And then the first thing that would come up with people, all right, go or no go. And people would be like, it depends on this, depends on that, it depends on this, blah, blah, blah. What if that? What if this? And by the end, we all were on the same page, which is crazy for a room of, I don't know, 100, maybe a couple hundred people, where he would put up a picture and be like, go. Put up another picture, no go. Like, it was pretty cool. So basically, the biggest takeaway from his was, don't look at the fire, right? When you first arrive on scene, and we're talking the first couple minutes, right? That's what his class is all about. When you arrive on scene and you're sizing up the building, just look at the fire for a short amount of time, right? You want to kind of know where it's been, where it's at, where it's going, right? But outside of that, everybody gets so focused on the fire when you should focus on the survivable space or the occupiable space that's outside of the fire, right? So let's do something fun. Let's do this. So Ace. All I'm trying to do is get a first in fire here. And there's like bears climbing into houses and stuff. Okay, hold on. All right. This might not even be a good one. But right, you could see. So in his class, he would put up pictures like this, right? And I think there's already water flowing, so that's probably not the spot to start, right? So he'd put up a picture like this, and he'd be like, "Go or no go," right? And I think, right, instinctively, all of us are gonna look at this and go, right? But what a lot of people do in their size up is they'll just continue to stare at this, right? And I caught myself, and then he was pretty good. He would be like, "If you're still looking at the fire, you shouldn't be," and you're just staring at this, right? What we should be doing is going, okay, fire's there. Cool. I know where I got to put water. After that, it should be what's going on with the rest of this house, right? There's so much searchable space, occupiable space in this structure. If you see in this bottom corner, this is a great second view. Let's see if we can pull that up, right? Look at that. That's almost your 360, right? So I'm not doing it justice by any means. If you get the chance, check out what he has to show. And obviously, if you listen to this without audio, you can't see it, but whatever, it is what it is. Just know, keeping it simple, go, no go. Is it survivable or is it searchable? Can I occupy it? And then go from there, right? That's how you can solve problems. You can keep it tight and make your first couple minutes pretty simple in that regard, right? So he was awesome. Nothing but great things. Again, if you get the chance, go see that guy. And he's a pretty awesome speaker and a pretty cool dude, just to begin with. So I got to see Paul Combs, which, if you guys know who he is, he does he does cartoons. I shouldn't say characters. Oh my God, he would shoot me if I said that. But he does cartoons, right? We've all seen Paul Combs cartoons, and his was called "Be the Target," right? So. He brought this picture up last year, which I don't think I'm going to be able to full screen this. Let's see. Right. Talking about being a target. And it went the opposite way that I thought it was going to go, right? I thought it was going to be like what Rhodes was talking about, hey, we're the target, you're under scrutiny and all this stuff. But he actually went the other way with it, which was great because he sucked me in by tricking me, and in turn made me realize that there's some positivity behind that, right? He talked more about being the target for others to look up to. You don't know the power of the influence you have on other people, right? Everybody has some influence. If you're doing the right or the wrong thing, you have influence over other people. And but you want to be the target that people aspire to be. And it was a total 180 from what I thought it was going to be. And it really flipped my mind a little bit, right? Being positive, believing in yourself. You got to be approachable. If you're on an island, and he didn't say this, but if you're putting yourself out on an island, make sure that there's at least some slips for some people to come visit you, right? Don't be so unapproachable that nobody wants to talk to you. Like that's not good either, right? Nobody deserves your bad day. You coming to work, you having a bad day. No one deserves to take that from you, right? And for you to push that on somebody else. You got to find ways to stay positive. You got to find ways to be better, right? And, surround yourself with people that'll give you honesty. Surround yourself with people that'll push you to be at a level above what you're at, right? Have some tough friends that'll give you some hard conversations when you need them. And have a purpose behind what you're doing, right? There's power in that purpose. It was a pretty good class. And Paul Combs, not who I would have expected to get some powerful leadership. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but right. I think most of us know him as the guy that draws cartoons. There was a lot more behind that. I mean, for those of you that don't know, he used to be a hot instructor. He was a lot of other things, right? So big respect for his class. Tons of value in it, and I enjoy it. Enjoyed flipping my mind a little bit, right? Not feeling so assaulted and feeling more okay. There's something to shoot for here, and help be a positive example for others, right? Chief, the bag theory, right? That totally plays right into Gagliano's thing. Where's it been? Where's it at? Where it's going, right? Just like Eddie Enright would bring out, right? Simplifying those things. That's what your first couple minutes should be. It shouldn't be this over complicated Cole was wealth, slicers, whatever you want to throw at me. Keeping it simple, keeping it instinctive almost makes us better in that first 10 minutes. Not even probably first couple minutes, making decisions and going to work, right? From there, I backtracked and I took some notes because I'm scrolling through all my notes that I took throughout the course of the day. From there, we were done. That was it, I think, for the rest of the day. Or I had something else. I can't remember, but either way. I took a class called Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Training Officer from Dave McGlynn. He works for West Point. He's part of the government, right, for fire. And he's a Fed. He's also Italian. And, man, did he let it rip. And he had some really awesome, harsh, but true things to say. And I wrote a ton down, and some I can't replicate the way that he spoke about it, right? So if you're aspiring, like myself, to be a training officer or even an instructor, right? You want to be a good instructor. The success of that organization, that's all on you. That's all on us as instructors to get out there and make sure that people are trained to the right level. Because if not, it's back on us, right? We have an obligation and responsibility, right? You got to make it realistic. You got to do a bunch of these other things like have an end goal for success. He talks about making decisions, and this goes beyond training officer, right? So let's take training out of the equation. Let's say that you're the apparatus chair, right? Ultimately, you've got to make the decision because you're the chair, right? But that doesn't mean that you do all the research. That doesn't mean it's only your ideas. You got to have suggestion from other people, and you got to create an environment that generates that, right? So you can come back and make an informed decision. A decision without any information is not going to do anything, right? Trevor, I hope it can end up on Spotify because I pulled these YouTube videos, but I'll throw it up there and we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for watching, dude. I can't get on that early because my kids. Also, I'm already been talking for an hour by myself, which is pretty rare. So, thanks for jumping on. I think one of the things that I had a realization from is from sitting through some of these things and maybe some of my own personal journey through, my career was if you're feeling underdeveloped, right? You have to find a way to develop yourself, right? And because of that same thought process, young people in the fire service will do the same. They have access to information beyond what was possible, years ago, right? Where if they're not getting enough of what they want, sorry, I was reading the thing here. If they're not getting what they want, they're going to go find it and they're going to develop themselves, right? So you've got to stay on top of your game and you've got to know what they need and you've got to know what's up to date as an instructor, as a training officer, as a leader, as a mentor, as anything. They will go find the information without you. So you don't have all the cards. You don't have everything. And you need to do your best to have that information for them because they will just go find it. They don't care, right? Your name, your status, your position sometimes, as harsh as this sounds, means almost nothing to some of those people. And you shouldn't be upset about that. The information's what matters. They want to get the right information, and they can find it anywhere thanks to the internet. So I guess the internet did one good thing. Chief, yeah, I see here. So McGlynn will be Illinois Fire Chief Symposium, right? In Peoria. Doing mentoring or making puppets. I love that. He was a phenomenal speaker, and he doesn't pull any punches. I don't know if I can go to Peoria because I'm not a chief, but totally worth hearing it, right? And yeah, stay in front of your people and challenge them, right? You want to be ahead of the game. You want to know what's up and coming. You want to know the information that's coming out. So you can help guide people the right direction because there's a ton of information, obviously. If you can get ahead of that, then you can help filter it down to your people. Because, again, they're going to go find it. With or without you, they're going to go find it. So McGlynn had 10 takeaways for being a successful training officer, and I'm going to rip down the list and take this with you, right? Be a student, be an educator, be an inspiration, be credible, be a leader, be confident, be humble, be resourceful, be passionate, and leave a good legacy. So awesome way for him to wrap up his chat. Really great speaker. Totally loved him, and he's off the cuff because he's got a Jersey accent, so that enough, right? He had some interesting stuff to say about unions in a funny, awesome way, and I'll tap a little bit. He basically said, hey, there's some challenges that come from multiple different factors. And he brought up unions, and he goes, I'm surprised nobody stands up and goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, you know what I'm talking about, right? Not training more than once in a day, or it's this or that, or using the contract as a clutch or as a crutch. Not knocking unions, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? And I spread things out, so I don't just do classes the entire time I'm down there. Sometimes it's because I need a mental break, right? Because there's a lot to take in, and it's rapid fire, right? You get maybe 15, 20 minutes in between each one of those classroom sessions. So I try to find ways to manufacture some time to walk the show floor and see some new things, which, to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff this year in terms of like tech and stuff in that nature. But I did take one other class here. It was from David Gillespie, who, again, I pushed the hell out of that book, The Resiliency Training in the Fire Service. He co-authored that, and they got up and they spoke about it. It was basically the same information from the book, which to hear them say it obviously was beneficial. You get that information out of the book, though, and then if you get a chance to see them and talk to them about it. One weird little thing that I took away. So I don't know who here has trouble going back to sleep in the middle of the night from a call. I don't. Maybe I'm lucky, but I know people that do. Basically, you get cortisol, right? The stress hormone, when you wake up, right, when your heart rate spikes because the tones drop and you got to go off and go to work, and you get back to the station, and a lot of people have trouble falling asleep. Go pee. As funny as that sounds, go pee. Basically, the only way to get cortisol out is to pee it. So, or work out. He said, or sweat. So, either go rip it on the treadmill, which I ain't doing at 2:30 in the morning. But if you go pee, maybe that'll help, right? So we train people, to a level that we think won't fail them in stress, but we should almost do the opposite, right? So that was one other little takeaway from there that he talked about, and we've all heard it, right? We fall to the level of our training and all that stuff, and some people take that as a calling to lessen and I'm all about making drills simple, right? But almost dumbing things down, right? So people can't fail because it's so dumbed down that they can't mess it up. I would challenge the opposite thought process, and they would too, right? If you train somebody on something that's complicated so much, then it becomes uncomplicated to them, right? It's not like it's this unobtainable goal. If you train them to a point where they can't get it wrong, as I'm sure we've all heard that proverb before, you can train someone to do anything as long as you keep it relevant and you keep them engaged with it. And that was a big takeaway, right? I'm all about simple things. I'm totally for it. At the same time, though, if something has a little bit more complexity to it, but it works and it's good, then you got to train people to be able to do it in stress environments, right? So those were the classes that I took. I also had a blast with a lot of other things, but I'm going to take a quick not talking break here, and I'm going to play a little bit of Brian Brush's Day 2 opening ceremony keynote. And Brian Brush, for those of you who don't know, he was one of the founders of Firefighter Rescue Survey, obviously heavily involved in it. It was part of his, I believe it was his master's program. I'm sorry for butchering the history of it. Those of you that know me know that I'm all about Firefighter Rescue Survey, and the information that comes from that helps justify our aggressiveness, justify our tactics, justify the decisions that we make on the fire ground. So I'll fade in and play a little bit of what he talked about.
I want to remind everyone once again that it's not about those of us on this stage. It's about what's in this room. The keynote, it's just words in a speech. The key to our future is in your actions. The pride of standing up here is great, but it is pale when compared to the power among the rows and rows of fire, shoulder to shoulder, now standing in this room. To the small body of determined spirits assembled here today, may the knowledge that firefighters are the difference between life and death validate your faith in our mission. To the recent retiree, probationary firefighter, company officer, or senior man, all joined here together, build your faith in each other.
So again, we're in this together, and we can believe in each other, and we can really move mountains if we can stand by these principles, right? A lot of these things, like I said, there's a shift. Not what started as grassroots is becoming much more, not mainstream, but it's out there. It's in the open. Again, the biggest stage, the loudest voices all cried out and said, hey, we're here. This is what we believe in. You better get on board. So I'm scrolling through my Facebook because I wanted to pull up that one more bit from the training, and I cannot find it. But, yeah, I'd have to dig for a while. I mean, it was a week, so there's a lot of stuff floating around. But, yeah. So that was my FDIC. I was fortunate enough because one of the things I want to push for others when you go is take the opportunity to meet people that you think you can't talk to, right? If you went and saw, I don't know, Tom Brady in the street, are you going to run up to Tom Brady? Probably not, right? Oh my God, he's a huge celebrity. He's this, blah, 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 blah. And I think we're programmed that way. And that, it's almost like a class thing, right? The fire service does not have that. Everybody at FDIC is a firefighter at heart. That's why they're there. And if you ever came across somebody which I haven't, who you idolize, right, or respect, they all take the time to talk to you, even if they only got a couple minutes because they got to run to something else. They take the time to talk to you, to show you that we're all in this together, right? We're on the same page and that we can do these things together. So because of that, like, when you go, reach out, talk to people. I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of my heroes. I got to be part of, like I said, that Vigilantes meetup with Corley Moore, who runs a weekly scrap, which was awesome, just to talk with those guys. And as odd, so one thing I pull away here is Corley and his wife. They go everywhere, and they're fortunate enough now where their kids are old enough where they can do that. But it was really cool to see that he brings his wife with on these trainings where he's out being able to teach and he's being able to talk to people. And I actually got to talk to her a little bit about like the family dynamic. She talked about basically how he's been, he deals with the same stress that we all deal with, right? And so, for her to see what happened in terms of the positive feedback he's getting was obviously great for him. And I resonate a lot with that. My wife sees that I take a lot of crap, and it kind of turns her off from some fire service stuff because of that, because I take a lot of crap. And I mean, I don't want that for her. And I don't want the fire service to be like that. So that was really cool. And I'm not going to talk too much about what her and I talked about because I don't think that's fair. But it was pretty cool. Same with talking to Corley. Same thing. I got to meet Isaacson, Ramagus, McCormick. Man. And then, I go up and shake every hand of every instructor that ever teaches down there, or really ever. That's one thing I truly believe in, because as an instructor myself, I know the amount of effort it takes to go in and teach people. And you're putting your heart and your soul out there. So, it was a pretty cool year. And there's more coming for next year. So I hope I see you guys there. I've got a pretty cool opportunity to maybe be a part of what they got going on and kind of do things of this nature from a firefighter's level, kind of bringing it to the streets. I don't know if you guys saw, but I did that newcomer's guide, and that kind of got me in to be able to talk to some people. I got to meet Chief Rhodes because of that, and we'll see how it grows, because I really do enjoy going to that conference. That's been a huge deal for most of my childhood, and definitely for my entire fire service career. It's been there. I might not have gone every year, but I'm hoping to change that and try to go as much as I can. And bring my kids with, bring my wife with, do that whole thing, and make sure that everybody's along for the ride. So, wrapping it up. You guys got anything for me? Otherwise, unlike every other podcast episode I do, we're going to be shy of 2 hours for the first time. I think I'm only going to be at an hour and a half, hour 20. But I'd love to hear any questions or any other things you guys got. I know there's only 3 in here, watching, but otherwise, I'm gonna sign off. I don't know how long the delay is. One thing I'll throw out. So we've got some events coming up. So next Tuesday, I'm gonna have Michael Vitale come on, and we're gonna chat. If you saw, I just got Jeff Marusic to come on. He's from Highland Park. Vitale's from Lincolnshire. Local guys talking some cool stuff. Back to the root of what we are here, what I am here, what I'm trying to put out for everybody. So, come join us live for those. Chief, FDIC without Halton was still FDIC. And I don't mean that taking anything away from Bobby, because he was instrumental in everything. Still, his presence was there. It didn't go anywhere. The ceremonies, the after hours thing, which they had up on YouTube, but they took it down for whatever reason, I don't know. But sitting in there in person and hearing all the stories that people had to say about him was pretty incredible, and I'm glad I got to have that experience. But Bobby not being there, it didn't feel like he wasn't there, if that makes sense. It still felt like he was in every facet of what was going on, and it felt like we just kept on trucking, right, in a good way. And I think he'll always be there, one way or another. Passaggio. All right. That list is expanding. I'm going to have to start scheduling farther out than 2 or 3. We'll see. Keep an eye. You never know. I might throw some cool extra people who I've been fortunate enough to meet or have some cool contact with too. So, but as always, I'm going to try to make sure I get local people, grassroots, ground level people, as much as I can on here, because I believe that all of us, have something to share, and a lot of us don't get the same platform to be able to share things as others. So, with that, I'm calling it a night. So, thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday.